Today on Getting Real with the Housewives, Louie apologizes to Margaret Josephs as the fate of New Jersey is up in the air after that explosive finale. Plus, Andy Cohen reveals that he views the Housewives differently since becoming a dad, as Jennifer Tilly says working with the Housewives is like working with Martin Scorsese. Plus, Emily Simpson breaks down the OC dinner from hell and the attack on Shannon Bedore.
She's trying to be better and do better, but I think it's very difficult to do better and be better when people are just relentlessly coming after you. And so I feel badly for her for that, too.
We've got that plus so much more on today's Getting Real with the Housewives. Hey everyone, I'm Christina and welcome to Getting Real with the Housewives. And wow, what a New Jersey finale. It really was the Last Supper. So many questions still up in the air of what's going to happen in the future. But I kind of agree with Andy Cohen when he says that this feels like a series finale, and it definitely did. You know, all of the tension and drama within the group came to a head when a meal meant to bring everyone together took a turn for the worse. And a very different turn. So Melissa told Bravo TV it's kind of surreal because it does feel like the Last Supper. It's probably the last time we're ever going to order a drink in front of each other again. All of us, that's just how I feel. As Melissa's described, the meal at Rails ended up being a time for a lot of feelings to come out and a lot of truth to come out. She said, I think finally the mask falls off and everyone just said how they really feel. Now, Rachel Fuda felt similarly uncertain about the group's future, but Jackie Goldschneider had a clear stance saying, I don't think the group as it is goes anywhere from here. I don't know if Jackie goes anywhere from here with anybody in this group anymore. I'm so interested to watch this upcoming episode when they're, commenting back about the episode to see how they really kind of feel about this, if Jackie and Teresa are still friends, if that really has marinated with Teresa in knowing the fact that Jackie was the one behind all of this for so long. It's just mind-blowing. It was such a mic drop moment that I think Margaret definitely vindicated herself. Yes, she's not completely in the clear about this, but I mean, it was Jackie all along. I felt like I was getting like Salt Lake City finale vibes with like these big explosive secrets that are being revealed, but it really was such a great episode. So after the episode, a lot of people had an issue with what Louie said about Margaret and her son. So he has since apologized, saying he was disappointed in his actions after saying that he hopes Margaret and her son suffer after he claims he's been falsely accused of calling Margaret's son at his work, which he said is simply just not true. So he wrote on Instagram, for the last year, Margaret kept putting this narrative out there that I called her son at work and I have to deal with it, knowing I am being lied on. Still, I know better not to bring someone's child up, and it is something I deeply regret. I want to apologize and acknowledge that I was wrong. In his Instagram apology, he credited the show's toxicity as the reason behind his hateful words about Margaret and her family, saying, we have been dealing with a lot of frustrating things behind the scenes, and it has been very hard for our entire family and my children who have been really impacted by all that's happened at the hands of certain people. Two wrongs don't make a right, and I deeply regret saying what I said. Oh, Louie, this was definitely a really weird, awkward moment to watch. Like, why bring somebody's child into this? Why wish suffering upon people? It's like, it just got to a really dark place this season. I saw a lot of people online being like, the show really did take a turn once Louie came into Teresa's life. And it's so interesting because if you remember in the trailer for the beginning of the season, we were supposed to get this storyline about Louie maybe taking some of Teresa's money, and that obviously was just cut from the show. So it would be interesting to see what else is on the cutting room floor from this season and what other things about Louie may come forward. I just hope that, Teresa has her eyes open. I mean, it seems like she and her family, they're in Mykonos together having a great time. The kids love him, so that's really all that matters. But it's definitely took a dark, dark turn this season. All right, well, priorities have changed for Andy Cohen since he became a father, including his perspective on the Real Housewives franchise. In a preview for this week's episode of Bitch Sesh, a Real Housewives breakdown, Andy discussed the season finale of New Jersey, including the headline-making comments that Louie made about Margaret and her son. He said, "My perspective on the housewives has shifted a little bit since becoming a dad. Just because I pay attention to different, I look at it a little differently. But man, let me tell you something. If someone that I didn't care for invoked either of my children's names, I would go as mellow yellow as I usually am. That is what it would take for me." Danielle Cabral's button is "Don't talk about my husband's pecs." Mine would be if you mention my children in an unfavorable way, like I would go absolutely mental. I assume that's just very common. That is definitely very common. It's been like a housewives rule that children should be off the table, and it wasn't this season. With New Jersey, it hasn't been, we've had, the accusations with Gia, the whole rumor that Jackie brought up, and kids' names are always kind of flied around in New Jersey. And it's just, like I said, it just took a really dark turn this season, and it definitely feels like final. So we don't know what's going to happen in the future. We don't know if they're going to rebuild an entire cast, if they're going to keep some of the OGs, but it seems like they all have come to this realization that this group cannot move forward. All right, well, moving on over to Beverly Hills, and joining this season is Jennifer Tilly. Very excited about this, and this has been career goals for her. She told Vulture, "I never thought I'd be on The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. To me, it's like working with Martin Scorsese." In case you're wondering just how much Jennifer's new role on Beverly Hills means to her, she added, "I was more excited to meet Kyle Richards and Erica Jane and the other ladies than I was when I met Elizabeth Taylor." I love this. She added, "My boyfriend always says if he got 40 million, he wants to go into space and experience zero gravity. To me, being on Housewives is experiencing zero gravity. They've been asking me if I want to be on the show, and I've always said no. This year, I sort of thought I just want to do everything different. I'm trying to take on challenges." I love this so much. I love that she's so excited to be part of this franchise. I love hearing when, big celebrities are just as big as Housewives fans as we are. And it seems like her career goals are finally coming to fruition, and I love that this is one of them. I think she's going to make a great addition to this show. I think she's going to definitely bring some comedic relief. I feel like her and Sutton together are going to be great. We've seen them a little bit on the show, so I think it's going to be fantastic. Well, some new Bravo shows to be, or new Housewives-related shows to be excited about, because Peacock is giving Housewives fans something they're sure to love. So the streaming network has set a new reality dating series, this is according to People magazine, which will gather eligible singles in a quest to win the hearts of 4 of Bravo's biggest bachelorettes. Being produced under the working title Love Hotel, the show will star Luann, Shannon Storms Bedore, and Real Housewives of Potomac OGs Giselle and Ashley Darby. So filming will take place in September in Cabo, where the women will be offered a diverse dating pool, and the show is expected to air sometime next year. Definitely excited about that. We love a dating show. I've said a long time ago that I thought Luann should be the Golden Bachelorette, so maybe this is the next best thing. Also maybe in development, Dorinda Medley is opening up her Bluestone Manor estate for a new reality series being developed at Bravo. This is according to Deadline. The Berkshires estate was heavily, of course, featured on The Real Housewives of New York throughout her time, and sources say that the show would be similar in format to Hulu's Vanderpump Villa, which I absolutely loved, with Dorinda serving as boss to a young staff as they welcome guests staying on her property. As the show is only in development stage, it's not certain if it will go to series, but sign me up. Watching Dorinda kind of boss everybody around, I mean, can't think of a better reality show than that. All right, well, while it was the Last Supper in Jersey, it was another dinner party from hell in the OC as the ladies unleashed on Shannon Bedore. Well, we caught up with Emily Simpson to get her reaction. Take a look. What was kind of going through your mind during that dinner when it was just like everybody kind of going after Shannon?
I feel badly for Shannon.
Yeah.
I do think there's a certain amount of critique that she does deserve just because of the things that she's gone through and the choices that she's made, and I think she knows that, and she's aware of that, and I think she's trying to make amends with that, and she's trying to be better and do better. But I think it's very difficult to do better and be better when people are just relentlessly coming after you, and so I feel badly for her for that too.
Yeah. Did you agree with Tamara when she was like, "You're an alcoholic, you should have been in rehab"?
I do agree, and I think I've told Shannon that before. I don't know in what setting, I don't remember exactly, but we've had a conversation, and I said, "Don't you think you should be sober? I think you should be sober." And she said, "Well, I've talked to my therapist, and this, all I think you can do is say, I think this, but then ultimately it has to come from her. It has to be her decision. It has to be what she thinks she should do, because otherwise, if she's pressured into it, it's not something that's going to last.
Right. You had me like laughing with the Vicky being the voice of reason at the end. And you're like, roll the tape.
Yeah, right. I know. I mean, I love Victoria because I find her so amusing, and I love the things that she says because they're so ridiculous sometimes. But then I love the fact that instead of apologizing or saying like, "Oh, that wasn't," she'll just double down.
Yes.
And I don't know. I respect her delusion.
Don't we all?
I really do.
I love that so much. You made such a good point because when Alexis was like, I want to be friends with Shannon, you were like, well, you can't come here with receipts if you want to be friends with somebody.
Right.
Where do you think do you really think Alexis wanted to be friends with Shannon?
You know, that's the thing with Alexis, and I think that was what was bothering me, was I never had a problem with Alexis being with John.
Yeah.
And then the first group outing we went to, which was Heather's party at the Balboa Bay Club, I actually rode there with Alexis. And I felt like on the way there, she was very reasonable. She was like, I don't want to fight with Shannon. I don't want to, I don't want to be in a bad place with her. And I was like, okay, well, that's a mature, aspect. Sure. That's, but then we get there. And it's like she says one thing, but then she acts completely different. She'll say, I want to be friends, but then she'll humiliate her. Yeah. She'll say, I just want to get along with this woman, but then she'll constantly talk about John in front of her. And it's like, it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense, yeah. All right, well, let's wrap it up with our social spotlight of the week. And it has to go to Margaret Josephs, who has now given us the iconic line, "You subpoenaed the wrong bitch." Hey, if this is the last time we see Margaret Josephs as a Real Housewives of New Jersey star, she definitely went out on top. She brought it. This was an iconic season for Margaret. She brought those timelines, receipts, screenshots. She really followed the Housewives rules for making a great Housewives season. So MVP of the season, Margaret Josephs right there. And Dolores, because we always love our Dolores. All right, well, that is it for this week's episode of Getting Real with the Housewives. Let me know what you thought of the New Jersey finale and where do we go from here. Keep commenting, keep subscribing. I'll see you next week.